My next update is very personal. It has to do with airline service. I would put the word service in quotation marks, but I don't think most of you need that. I am responding, as I say, to something personal. A couple of weeks ago, I returned from Paris, France, on a flight on United Airlines. I want everyone to know who it was. And it came from Paris to Newark, New Jersey. I can easily say to you it was the worst flight I have ever had in my life, and I've been on many. It begins on the day that we were supposed to leave Paris at 9:30 in the morning, and we were informed around 7:15 on our way to the airport that the flight would be delayed. At first, we were told it would be delayed until 5 in the afternoon. Then, sometime later, we were told it would be delayed until 6 or 6:30 in the evening. And then a little while later, while we were standing on line, trying to figure out how United Airlines would get us home, we were told, with another text message, that the flight had simply been canceled. Now back to the line. The line was immense. It filled up a whole corridor in the airport in Paris. Why? Because even though there were 6 or 7 stations for people to occupy at the United Airlines counter, only 2 people were there, serving us, who got, therefore, the right to stand in line for hours. I won't go through the rest of it. Horrific. We were up for 18 hours that day before we got home. We had to stop in Ireland on the way. It was supposed to be a direct flight, nonstop. At every turn, the lines were long. At every turn, the tempers were short. And the basic reason, everyone should be clear, is that it saves money for United Airlines to have too few people. I don't even know why the plane was canceled. We were never given the same straight story twice. Partly because people were so hassled who were working there that they couldn't possibly have taken the time to figure this out. They make more money by saving on personnel. We suffer, we the people for whom the airline is supposed to be providing, get ready, a service. Well, they didn't. Their profits at our expense. I and the other people flying had our lives disrupted, had our work interrupted, were exhausted physically and mentally by an experience of this sort, and it could have been handled in 1,000 ways more conveniently, but it would have cost United Airlines some money, and they are letting us know, profit first, you last. Did they learn something, having been exposed earlier for other abuses of their clients? No sign of it when I was traveling. Flying on American Airlines, not American the company, but all of the companies here in the United States particularly. It has become more and more unpleasant, more and more crowded, more and more literally uncomfortable. I'm talking in particular about the shrinkage in the size of seats and particularly in the distance between seats front and back. It has become so bad that recently a consumers group, the Flyers' Rights Organization, disgruntled flyers like you and me, got together and petitioned the Federal Aviation Agency, FAA, to do something about the shrinking seats, the terrible problem of shrinking seats. Their argument was very urgent. The seats are now so close together that it is very difficult to move between them, which means any emergency evacuation of an airplane over sea or land could become extremely dangerous to your health and even your life. And they use that argument to appeal to the FAA. The FAA said, no, we are not getting involved in this. We've long kept the distance from this question of seats. Well, this is very convenient for the FAA, and even more convenient for the airline companies. Why? Because by making the seats narrower and by making the seats closer together front to back, you can get more seats in an airplane. You can particularly squeeze the folks in economy, the vast majority, in order to make room for a couple of more seats in the business or first class, which earn much more money for the airlines. You can see what's going on. Airline profits are driving a process in which our seats are becoming more uncomfortable and now dangerous as well. When the FAA rejected the appeal of the Flyers' Rights Group, they went to court. And in this last week, the appeals court in Washington, D.C. came down on the side of the consumers. It said that the FAA had erred in not taking seriously the evacuation risks of what they were doing. And given some of the statements of the court, it's clear that they themselves have been on those same airplanes and know exactly what the issue is. Well, the FAA will reconsider. Who knows what they will do? I will follow the story. But I want you to see the larger implication. The deregulation of airlines some years ago freed them up to find new ways of making money off of us. Charging us to put the suitcases in, charging us to use the overhead rack, cutting out the meals, charging us for meals. There's an endless array of mechanisms airlines are using to boost their profits. Many of these efforts are at the expense of the airline customer. That's how this system works. It's kind of an endless cat and mouse game. They try to make more money. We push back if we can in order not to have to give up more and more, take risks, be uncomfortable, when the purpose is to make more money. Let's remember, the number of people who earn profits off of a company are very small relative to the number of consumers who ride the airlines of this country. This is a systemic problem. And I want to thank the British newspaper The Guardian, July 29th, which carried a very good article explaining all of this, a bit better than the articles I could find in the United States, but perhaps that reflects the interest of the press finding it easier to be critical of things happening in other countries than in their home country.